part of so much of what American soccer has been for the last 50 years or so, Rob, which is everybody thinks their idea is better.
All right, Culture Wars here on Morning Kicker on kind of a two-pronged attack here. We go our focus to Ohio as nearly 24 Ohio sports teams and operations want a share of $1 billion fund that the state of Ohio has for sports. And amongst them, Toledo Villa FC, a USL 2 team here.
Hold on. You said that. You're saying that you're jumping to a conclusion. Now we're putting some dots. We're connecting some dots. We dot our map. Those are not the dots that we do connect those dots through the Discord. Anyway, we're connecting some dots here, Rob. We're doing some logical thinking. Now, this is the chart. I think this is from the statehousenews.org or whatever out of Ohio. Okay. So a couple people, by the way, pointed this out to me on Blue Sky. Thank you very much for sending us that information. If you got a story that you think we should cover, definitely let us know. Request to Ohio's new sports/cultural facilities fund. 22 sports operations requested money from the state sports and cultural facilities fund. Request total nearly $689 million. I believe there's only $400 million available. Okay, so
only?
I think so. Now, these requests, I mean, I'm sure you have to write a report and explain why you deserve this money, why you want this money, and then it will be dispersed by whatever state agency does that in Ohio. I don't know. Number one, $234 million, Hamilton County, Cincinnati Bengals Paycor Stadium. So I guess the Bengals want to do something to their stadium to upgrade it, whatever. Okay,
that's
$234 million.
That's a holy moly, what a number.
And we know that football is king in Ohio, so I don't know if they're going to get it. Then you have FC Cincinnati's number two, $136 million. FC Cincinnati needs some money. The Blue Jackets, the Guardians, these are all you would expect these teams to be on this list. The big professional sports teams in Ohio. Cavaliers, New London Recreation Park. I guess that's just a park. Okay. I mean, that's what it looks like. Then, as you said, Toledo USL Soccer Project, $20.9 million. Now, Toledo has, as you just said, a USL 2 team. Toledo Villa FC. It says established 2017, Glass City. So they're playing amateur summer soccer like Oakland County Football Club. Tell us about what you know about Toledo Villa, Rob.
Oh, Toledo Villa. They were in the Great Lakes Division with Oakland County FC a few years back before they got moved to a different division.
Real quick, just because it's gonna kill me. I realized I made a typo on this graphic, so do not read what it says at the top of the screen. Go ahead, Rob.
We're hearting up. The Soccer Wars are hearting up. They're getting their full heart into the mix here. Whoops. But you can see it here. One of the most storied results in Oakland County FC history happened here in Toledo, a 5-5 absolute bing bong of a match here, but I'd never felt so put in my place before where soccer is in the United States. There's a nice, a pleasant soccer field. It was a nice facility, definitely on the divisional tour. They play at the University of Toledo. The soccer is played at Paul Hotmer Stadium, but as you can see in the picture, it's literally in the shadow of the football stadium. The glass bowl is right there. And we were, great facilities here, but in the shadow of Max. It's a Max school at the Toledo football stadium. So Mac, mid Division One, they've had their moments in the sun, but they mostly play on like Wednesdays and stuff like that to get onto ESPN. But soccer, literally in the shadow of football in Toledo.
Yeah, look, I mean, I this is not meant as disrespect to Ohio. Okay, I respect Ohio. I haven't spent a lot of time there, but if you're not from Ohio, I think it's like Toledo. Was that other the Flyers? Oh wait, no, that's Akron. What's in Toledo? Oh, the Rockets. You can actually see it on the stadium there. The Rockets. Okay, got it. Okay. Glass City. All right. I don't know a lot about Toledo. I have a friend who's from Toledo, but I've never visited him there, so I don't know. But I look at this. This looks like a standard standard amateur soccer environment in America. It looks like there's a track around this this field.
Yeah, there's
Rob?
a track there, and where this picture's from, there's one
Dayton
nice
Flyers. I even
grandstand.
got it wrong. Akron Zips, Dayton Flyers. Thank you, Mike, for correcting me. Sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
It's Toledo Rockets. I didn't even catch that. It's Toledo Rockets. But yeah, where this picture's taken from, there's like, it's one-sided. It's like one grandstand. It's okay. But it's a nice facility.
So not the worst place, but what do they need $20.9 million for? Are they looking? Because that's not enough to sort of build some sort of proper professional soccer. Like, you're going to need closer to 100 or something, right? I think probably to get even like a 10,000 seat stadium together. So is 20,000 just to slightly upgrade? I mean, 20 million rather. How much can they upgrade that? And what is that indicative of an attempt to go pro, right? Because it says USL. What did the graphics say, Rob? In my
USL Toledo.
Yeah, it says USL Soccer Project. Now they're in USL now, but they're in the lower divisions of USL, or an amateur division of USL. Does that indicate they want to go pro? That's what I'm not sure of, and it kind of again dovetails with some other news that we got, courtesy of our friend Simon Evans at the Soccer Business.
Even within, but before we even get to Simon Evans, within this news release from the State House, it also lists Cleveland Soccer Group, which secured Division II women's soccer and MLS Next Pro in 2022, also requesting funds, and that goes into Simon Evans.
Right, because we knew about that we knew about competing projects in Cleveland, right? So we have a couple of open fronts in the soccer wars, which are hearting up. Clearly, thank you everybody who has acknowledged the hearting up of the soccer wars. Chattanooga obviously is one of those places. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. That's the first one that comes to mind. I'm sure I'm missing a one or two. And, there are somewhere, you've got a team in like the major city, and then just outside there's a suburb or something that might have a professional team. It's not a regular thing yet, but could it become more of a regular thing? Because as I just said, Simon Evans over at the Soccer Business has this. He posted this to LinkedIn. You can go listen to the actual episode and the interview with Ali Curtis of MLS Next Pro. He's the president of MLS Next Pro, was installed in that position, I think, late last year.
Yeah.
He says they want to go from 30 clubs, which they have now, which is every MLS team except a couple, like DC hasn't gotten theirs off the ground, plus a couple of independent clubs, right? We know about an independent. We know about Carolina Core. Who else is in
Chattanooga, and then Connecticut.
Connecticut's coming
this
in.
Year.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're just coming in as a professional, as an MLS Next Pro independent team. If they want to go to 50, that means they have to find more independent markets, right? They're not more MLS teams coming to make that 50 up. So this is very clearly an indication that there's going to be a battle for these kind of places, right? For a Toledo potential. I mean, that's just the one that comes to mind because of what we learned today. But who then there are other places, and we even heard a little bit about some of these places having to make a decision between MLS Next Pro and USL. In fact, in your state, Rob, right? Grand Rapids is a place that's going MLS Next Pro instead of USL.
Yep. And Soccer Wars is well and truly on. If Papadakis at the USL, they threw that number out there. We're talking with 70 different expansion cities, and obviously they're going from place to place. Trying to lay some groundwork for future potential places, or try to get stadiums to create a team. And then here we have the parallel sort of character for MLS Next Pro, Ali Curtis, saying they want to do something similar. They want to beef up 40 to 50 teams. And so that goes well beyond the MLS Next 2 teams. And so they're trying to add a couple dozen independent teams. And you think that's a battle. That's a straight up land war for the cities in America that don't have teams.
We come back to a fundamental problem at the heart of so much of what American soccer has been for the last 50 years or so, Rob, which is everybody thinks their idea is better. Everybody wants to grow at this rate that would make them the dominant player. And there doesn't seem to ever be this sense of like, okay, we're good. We did our part. Or maybe there's already an established order or somebody who's already done a lot of work. I will come in and try to be part of that rather than building my own better mousetrap, right? And I kind of, the way I think about this is in a place with a deep-rooted, long-standing soccer culture, And you can pretty much name any European country, certainly on the big soccer playing countries we know about. You could certainly put all of the major South American countries under this umbrella too, for the most part. There might be exceptions. If somebody wants to get involved in soccer, or there's some idea of like something new, you could argue, you could obviously argue up, let's start a new club, although most places have clubs and you don't need to do that. But what nobody does is like, oh, you know what we should do? We should have a new league. We're going to do our own league. Forget that league that's existed for 100 years. We're doing our own league. That never happens. You would never ever see that, right? I don't know. I don't even know how sort of antitrust laws and things would apply in those countries because nobody challenges them. Nobody gets worried about like, oh, well, they're not doing it right. We're going to do it our way. But in this country, that's absolutely the starting point for almost everybody who gets involved in soccer. They don't go, man, let's get a team together and then we can join that league that we think is doing it the right way or is already the furniture and we can't really move it. No, they go, hey, we want to start our own league and reorganize everything. So, and I'm not even really blaming those people because we have never gotten to a place of being comfortable with our structures that they're going to help us reach the full potential of soccer in America. We've never been comfortable with that. But again, if we keep resetting things or we keep adding new elements to the structure, then we never get a runway to see whether or not any of this can actually become something culturally important the way it is in these other countries.
To muddy the waters even further. So at this level, we have, the USL trying to expand. Now we have MLS Next Pro trying to expand, but we've also talked the League for Clubs is also trying to get in on this level. And then there's another league too, APSL.
But hold on, semi-pro. And look, I know we've got friends over there at League for Clubs, semi-pro for now, but that doesn't, it pretty clearly indicates they would like to go fully professional at some point, right? They're setting the stage for that. Now, Chris is saying, I think what a lot of people are going to, Riverside Grove as well. USSF should create 3 tiers like EFL, and then the league thing dies. Chris says USSF provides so little structural framing. Again, I think we have to be careful what we ask for, and I don't know if there's an answer. Right? This is so difficult to pin down. Who do you want to be responsible for the way forward? Do you want it to be what essentially are commercial interests like MLS, like USL? Do you want it to be commercial interests? Do you want it to be US Soccer, who runs quickly into legal pitfalls if they start putting restrictions on certain clubs and leagues, which they've already dealt with and already spent a king's ransom on legal fees to fight off, right? That's already a thing that they have to worry about. So we have a pretty weak federation, and that's not because the federation doesn't want to be strong. I don't think. I think that's because the federation really can't be strong under the way the laws of the country work that regulate business and commerce. Like, what can U.S. Soccer do that doesn't get them immediately into an antitrust battle? Like that to me is the biggest issue here. And again, I don't know that I want U.S. Soccer to come in with a firm hand and go, well, there's this, and this, and no other leagues can enter. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I guess it would almost have. I mean, who would be the higher authority to then decree to USSF you can or can't do this for the betterment of soccer in the country? I mean, would that be like actual federal government at that level? Like you get a waiver on the monopoly rules to then move ahead?
You're talking about something like baseball has. Baseball has an antitrust exemption, right? Baseball was so culturally important that Congress basically said you can do stuff that is anti-competitive because you're so important to the culture of America, right? That baseball filled that space the way that soccer filled that space in most other countries, especially in Europe, right? That's the place that soccer fills. So, the window has closed on establishing yourself culturally in a way that would beget that kind of treatment when we live in a connected world with the ability to watch all the sports and see all the sports and connect to all the sports. It doesn't exist. That idea doesn't exist anymore. And I think that that's really hard for us as American soccer fans who want to see the sport grow. Is what is the uncharted way to build our sport out in a way that we covet from other countries, that doesn't run into all of these problems and pitfalls and doesn't have us cannibalizing each other, spending too much money on legal fees, taking each other to court all the time, watching clubs come and go at a rapid clip.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to see them go, and we unfortunately see too many of them go in this country. We reported last week or talked about at length the closure in Georgia, and then at the end of last year, the closure of North Carolina, and that's something that doesn't really happen overseas really at all. When clubs close over there, it's because an owner wanted to kind of like strip mine it, or just was bad management. It's not necessarily for the same reasons that they close here at all. Talking about sharing stuff, we got Tim, I think is a brand new MK Ultra. They're saying over in the New England area, Centerville Bank, Rhode Island FC's home, and Gillette Stadium, only about 20 miles, 25 minutes apart. And that is working for them so far. So not cannibalizing.
Well, okay. And again, I think so. Somebody brought up like, if Toledo gets a pro team, which by the way, we have no indication right now. We'd have to dig a little bit. And if anybody has any indication that Toledo wants to go pro, please let us know. We would love to be the first to report on that.
Theory. Hopefully the field rental at Toledo University isn't $20 million.
Yeah, hopefully they're not paying $20 million for that. Ooh. But what I was going to say is somebody asked earlier, like, could Ohio support 4 professional teams? If Cleveland is actually going to be 5, right? Because you got 2 in Cleveland, you've got Cincinnati, Columbus, and then you would throw Toledo into the mix.
And Crew 2.
Well, Crew 2 is MLS Next. Yeah, I think you kind of have to separate the reserve teams from the independent Next Pro teams. But I do see what you're saying. I mean, they're not driving attendance at Crew 2 games the way that an MLS Next Pro team in Toledo or Cleveland is trying to drive attendance. I don't, as long as you are aiming at different markets. Now, Cleveland, I don't know. Cleveland's a big place. You would hope that the MLS Next Pro team and the USL team could somehow figure it out. But in a place that's smaller or in a region that has a smaller population, you might be a little worried about that. But I do think, we should be aiming for that, right? We should. And I know it's just it's a little bit of a matter of faith, right? Believing that it could work if you just do the right things marketing, if you set your team up correctly, if you create an identity that connects to the community. Somebody, like, it doesn't matter if your region has 5 million people or 50,000, if you do it right, you should be able to get 10,000 people out per game, right? Maybe 50,000 is a stretch in terms of the size, but in most of these marketplaces that USL and MLS Next Pro are looking at, there's enough people there and enough soccer fans already baked in that if you just do the work, and you can certainly, imagine attracting people that don't already love soccer who might just want to connect with something in their community. And if you do it right, I think it can work. I don't think it needs to be, well, there's already a team there. Can't put another team there. It's why it is painful to watch teams that could exist, especially in major metropolitan areas, alongside a quote unquote higher level team, be shut down. I think it's St. Louis, right? I wore the jersey last week because that's a dead soccer club, and we just had one shut down in Georgia. And I'm thinking, why was it necessary for that St. Louis team to shut down? Why couldn't they have filled a different niche in the community if the people around the club were willing to put that work in? It would obviously be a very different price point, a very different level of investment. But why did they need to shut down? Why can't we have these things existing alongside one another? But at the same time, like, there is only so much in a given town, like say Chattanooga. There's only so much money to go around from corporate sponsorship, people who might give you extra money to have suites at games, the partnerships you would do in the community, the outreach you're able to do. There's only so much oxygen in the room for those kind of situations. And again, coming back to my original issue, should we be demanding of USL or MLS in this case, since these are the two sides now in the soccer wars, should we be demanding that they not go after a piece of land that the other side has already claimed? Should there be a first to that spot? Should this be, if you plant your flag, that's it, it's done? Now,
US Are you saying like cross-league territory rights, you mean?
Yeah, well, there are no issue. Like, U.S. soccer, this is what I mean. U.S. soccer cannot mandate territory rights across leagues. It cannot do that. It will run smack dab into a lawsuit. If U.S. soccer tried to say, oh, no, USL, you can't put a team in Chattanooga. There's already an MLS Next Pro team there, just to name one example, right? I don't even know if that's I think that's not even the timeline. I think the USL team started and then Chattanooga FC went to MLS Next Pro. But regardless, like pick a place. But say let's it doesn't matter. Pick a place. If one league wants to go into that market and within their league they don't have anybody else already there, then USL can't, or US Soccer can't say no, you can't do that. Right? If there's Detroit City FC is a USL championship team.
Yeah.
If MLS wanted to put a team in Detroit in Major League Soccer or MLS Next Pro, US Soccer can't say anything about that. They can't say, no, you can't do that. There's already a Detroit team. They can't, because again, that is anti-competitive behavior that would get them sued for that if they said we can't sanction you because of territorial rights. So, it comes down to whether or not we want to ask the actual organizations and demand of them and whether they would listen that they not do that they not encroach on a location that already has a team like that. And that's and again, in a world where everything is number go up, more teams, more money, more expansion, more fans, more this, more that. Who's going to choose that as a business? Which of these businesses is going to say, well, no, that looks like a really, really great market for soccer, but we're not going to touch it because the other side already has a team there? Who's going to do that? That doesn't make any sense from a business perspective. Even as we as soccer fans go, well, we don't like it that you're cannibalized. And again, the dream should be that those two teams should be able to exist side by side and still make it work.
Yeah, holy heck, what a culture war that would be, or a land war that would be, if Major League Soccer did come out with a Detroit expansion at this point, as DCFC are established, building a soccer-specific stadium. Obviously, the probably the most high-profile or the most established team that had that happen, obviously Chattanooga, but there's a list in the chat going of all the places like Miami, St. Louis, and San Diego, and Charlotte.
There are some, there are some interesting ones here. I wanted to ask you, though, so being a Michigander, if MLS decided to expand to Detroit, what would be the reaction from DCFC fans?
From DCFC fans? Oh, there would be huge uproar, I would say. I mean, there was already been multiple campaigns of DCFC fans going hard to buy up all the copyrights of all the names. And there was multiple campaigns for them to push back on any sort of group trying to move in an MLS team.
Okay. So, but is that based on the fact that we just don't like MLS? MLS is too corporate. MLS is too this. MLS is too that. I know there's the banners that fly at Keyworth now, and will probably fly in the new stadium, provided that the DCFC ownership believes that that's okay for them. Is that because of that, or is it because we are afraid that MLS will damage our club and our potential success, right? Because in other places in the world, there's not like you don't get fans of clubs in neighborhoods in London being angry that the other team's building a stadium that's not too far away. What I'm saying is it's sort of accepted that this is just a way of it. Like the teams on top of teams is kind of the idea. Like that's what we want, actually. We shouldn't be saying, well, no, you can't put that team here because it will hurt my team, unless we're afraid that American soccer just can't support that.
I think there is fear there because obviously I think that there's such a limited soccer audience that, there would be a percentage of DCFC fans that might get, a wayward eye. And I think the casuals that aren't into DCFC, because there's plenty of those in the metropolitan area that don't necessarily they still almost consider it's the American mentality of, if it's not in the absolute premier or Major League Soccer, they consider it not a pro team. That's right, and then a lot of those people, I feel like the corporate money and the suburban eyes would immediately get diverted to Major League Soccer, or there's a very good chance to.
Again, it comes back to money wins. We resent money. it's not is it a sense of inferiority? Like, oh, we're not, they won't,
I
or
think
that
it's like something that the community that feels that they helped build, and then having that undermined by something,
but
parachuting
if
in.
you are confident in who you are and your identity and what you've built as DCFC, why should you be concerned that the suburbanites might turn their attention to MLS? Why wouldn't you just say, look, we're building a 10,000 seat stadium, or we're going to get to 15,000 because we want to be D1, and we're strong enough as a club, and our ownership has proven time and time again that they can build something to attract enough people to keep us going and moving ahead. Why wouldn't we just be confident of that? Who cares if there's an MLS team on the other side of town?
Well, that might be changing because DCFC is more established than they were. But when these campaigns, the anti-MLS campaigns, were at full force, was they were still an amateur or in the
Yeah, no, I
NISA
understand that
era,
part.
and they weren't quite as firm-footed as they are now.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And again, I already mentioned St. Louis. I'll mention San Diego as well, because Soccer Night in Detroit's bringing up San Diego, right? Another team, a team that ran into issues. I don't think directly caused by MLS coming to town, but sort of indirectly caused by the fact that their stadium situation was not good enough. And as soon as they hit any kind of hurdle to clear, when MLS was coming to town and gobbling up a lot of soccer attention, they were unable to keep it going. And that is, again, that is a travesty. And I think a lot of people would say, well, MLS shouldn't have gone to San Diego because there was already a team there. And a lot of other people a lot of people on the other side would say, well, yeah, but that team wasn't nearly what we deserve as San Diego for what soccer should be here. And we want the bigger club, and we want the more exciting club, and we want the better players in the bigger stadium. And again, because we have not been able to get the runway of 100 years to sort of build these things up from a couple of people getting together to start a team, or a neighborhood getting together to start a team, it all feels very wrong and very dirty the way it all happens.
But there's patience, though, here that I think is needed, because who knows, San Diego Loyal could have maybe built themselves into the thing that was the
again,
bigger.
okay, just to play devil's advocate, Rob, if you're saying that, oh, San Diego Loyal could have been, but again, like, for soccer's grand growth in America, is it better to have San Diego Loyal bubbling for a while, 10,000 fans playing in a venue that's maybe not the best, and trying to get along, or let's drop a team in that can immediately flood the zone with enough marketing dollars to get 30,000 people out to watch every game? I mean, again, like, I'm not saying I agree. I disagree with you. I'm just pointing out that people would have this other opinion of, how do you make soccer better? Well, in this world, in the moment we live in now, not in 1936, but right now, you kind of have to do it the way MLS is doing it.
Should we put a poll up in the channel, in the post section of the Morning Kicker on YouTube channel? Like, if you're a town without a team, would you rather have USL or MLS Next Pro there? And maybe get a poll of what people think of those two teams.
Sure,
if your city council is talking to both entities, which would you rather them go with?
I actually forgot. I created a poll and didn't make it live, but I want to put a poll up in the YouTube chat. Not that question, slightly different. Who wins the soccer wars, USL, MLS, or no one, we all lose? So those are your three options right now in the poll, if you would like to vote. And again, I don't even know what winning looks like. Like, that's a question.
Existence?
I mean, it's a very pertinent question right now in the world. What does winning look like when you're doing this thing? And we've had so much history of leagues and clubs coming and going that it's really hard to imagine that suddenly it's different. It's really hard to imagine, based on history, that, oh, this is all going to end up good for even the side that, quote unquote, wins in a given place. And I don't know, maybe it is. I mean, look, maybe the abundance idea, maybe just clubs on top of clubs on top of clubs gets us to a place where we all do win, because even if some die, and I hate that, and I think it is, every single club death is a massive, massive problem in my mind, in a place like Statesboro, Georgia, whatever. Maybe there is a scenario with enough money, enough interest, enough aggressive behavior, the willingness to start the teams, that if MLS Next Pro gets to 50, if USL completely fills out all three of its tiers on the way to promotion relegation, that we're talking about hundreds of professional soccer clubs in America, like hundreds and hundreds. What's our number at right now? Rob. I mean, we'd have to do the math. But and forget the MLS reserve teams. Again, I kind of keep them out of this. But you got a handful of MLS Next Pro teams. You've got between USL Championship and USL League One, you've got something like 34 teams, something like that. We have to do the math. You got 30 MLS teams, right? So we're still short of 100 professional soccer teams in America. Do I have that right?
We're getting close to there. It's in and around that number, I think.
Well, I mean, obviously, in a better world, we have hundreds of professional soccer teams, different levels, different tiers, different. Some of them are playing in front of 5,000. Some of them are playing in front of 50,000. That's what we should want. That's certainly what we see on the other side of the ocean and covet.